Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good people. Yeah, you know what it is. Hard worker, scrappy, unfiltered, and sometimes unhinged football content. Hard to explain, but you know it when you see it. Doing it daily our way. I don't know what you're talking about right now. Redraft and Dynasty Fantasy Football, we got you covered. You know their defense is ranked like 31st in the NFL. NFL draft prospects and rookies. Now you know you in the right place for that.
Absolutely.
All right, then stop saying it. Then we're done. And prop bets with my man ARich. Count that money, man. Now wipe the crust out of your eyes. Get you a cup of coffee. It's time to wake your ass up with Ray G. You honestly are making absolutely no sense and you sound silly as hell. GMGP. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good people. It is Monday, July 31st, 2023. Y'all decided to wake y'all asses up with Ray G. And I appreciate you being here. We got a lot to talk about today. NFL training camp, week one. Like truly week one. We kind of did this last week, but true week one is underway. We got pads coming on for a bunch of teams around the league. And I'm happy y'all are here on this Monday. I hope y'all all had a fantastic weekend. We got in the building this morning. Job Webb in the building. Cold World TDE, what's happening with you? Craig in the building. Shane, Joe, Dynasty Barry, 7 GOAT rings. Jimbo, Ricardo, Dynasty Dumpster Fire said, let's get it, baby. Let's get it. Who else we got in the building? Todd, I saw my girl Joe in the building, Ricardo in the building, and y'all know ARich is in the back chilling right now. We made sure he was on mute today, so we didn't have any of the fiascos pre-show that we did on Monday, but it's going to be a good show. I'm very excited for today's episode and be excited about what we got cooking over here at Destination Devi. Today on Destination Dynasty, Scott Connor was joined by JJ Zacharyson, so make sure you check out Mr. Air Horns himself, JJ, on the Destination Dynasty podcast. It's on the radio feed, found anywhere you can find podcasts. And we had a couple of people that sent in some super chats last Monday. I promise you, I'm not going to forget the super chats anymore. I'm going to star them, get them. But shout out to Dynasty Trades in 5 who sent in a super chat last week. We appreciate all the things that you do and the support you show us over here at Destination Devi. What else do we have coming up? This week, we got some new stuff coming back. Now that training camp is in full swing, the NFL season is here. It's something that I did a couple of years ago that I'm bringing back this year, and I'm really excited about it because we get to track some of the things that are happening with the young players. Y'all know we love the young players over here at DD. So the rookie report is coming back this week where I'm only going to be focusing on rookies from training camp week 1 to week 18 of the 2023 NFL season every single week. Just tracking and following the rookies, man. Kind of like my own little Netflix show, the quarterback show, but it's just rookies. Rookie report, the stars that we know, some underrated names, some underrated players, things of that nature dropping back on the channel this week. So tap in to the rookie report. And yeah, I got to bring in my brother from another mother, ARich. How you doing this morning, baby?
I'm good, Ray. I'm good. It's funny. I was just laughing in the background. You're talking about the rookie report produced by Netflix, hosted by Ray G here on our YouTube channel. That's something. Ray, actually, breaking news. I was going to talk about it later, but you did bring up quarterback. Joe Burrow is going to be on quarterback season 2. It was reported by Dov Kleiman. So we will see this calf injury fallout. And we're not going to talk about it too much on the show because it is a little bit old news by now. But he will be on quarterback season 2. So that should be pretty interesting. But I do want to ask you how your trip was to Mississippi because you were gone. And people need to know, man, you drove 8 hours to be back here today for this show here with the people. So we didn't miss it. So happy to have you back. And I hope the people are happy to have you back as well.
Jay, I'm committed. I'm committed to this thing, man. You know, we were going to come back today, and I was like, no, we got to come back. I got to be on the show. It's training camp week 1. So, yeah, wife said, all right, if you want to be back, you got to drive the whole 8. So, push to be back. I'm hurting this morning, Jay. I still got my I don't even got pants on, Jay. I have no pants on right now. Legitimately, no pants on right now. Once we're done, I'll probably get back into bed. But I am excited, and we've got a lot to talk about. Including a lot of interesting happenings over on Underdog. And Jay, I'm gonna just tell you right now, I thought I figured it out. I thought I figured out Underdog. I felt good about it after week 1 in training camp, and then I got in a couple of drafts, and I'm like, shit, my whole plan has gone to hell. So we're gonna get into what that plan was. We're gonna talk some risers and fallers. Then we're gonna get into the news and notes and have some fun with the training camp highlights. But let's go right now. Underdog, risers, fallers. Let's go.
From the biggest and brightest stars to the last round pick, we have you covered for everything on Underdog Fantasy. Let's get into it and let's get that money, baby.
So, everybody, as you may know, there is a lot of news and takes and videos and things flying around. When I was looking at the graph and chart today for Underdogs, Rodgers, and Fallers, there was a ton of guys going up, going down. Saquon, Barkley, Calvin Ridley. My goodness, so many players. But again, as you guys know, as we've been chasing for years, everyone in the entire fantasy football NFL universe is chasing after that Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver 1 tied to Patrick Mahomes, and that's why the number 1 riser is yet again another Chiefs receiver. But this time, it is Rashee Rice. The Athletics' Nate Taylor says that Chiefs rookie wide receiver Rashee Rice has led all wide receivers in first-team reps at training camp. That is pretty good because we were not expecting Rashee Rice to make an immediate impact. We saw Sky Moore last year, second-round pick, didn't hit the field at all in a very similar situation, except they did have Juju Smith-Schuster, who was an established receiver. As you see as well, Sky Moore is on this list yet again. He continues to rise. But the big one for me is Javonte Williams, because we weren't so in on Javonte Williams, right? We have to kind of apologize to the people a little bit because we were fading him. We were like, I don't know. He's way too high. He's not going to be back. And he's not on the PUP. And on top of that, he's also been cleared for contact, but is just unsure if he's going to play in the preseason. That's not a big deal for us. Dude has already been cleared for contact before August. He's going to be ready for week 1. And, you know, what his workload looks like, we can't know that right now. But back, you know, even a month, 2 months ago, we were projecting as if he wasn't going to be ready at all and could be on the PUP to start the season. So that's a big difference based on what we're seeing right now. Alvin Kamara rising. Rashad Penny, of course. He got the first-team reps and first-team snaps at Eagles camp. So a lot of things going on there. The Fallers, Kadarius Toney, did have surgery ultimately on his injured knee. We were kind of expecting that. Chiggy continues to fall. J.K. Dobbins with his holdout is falling. Rashad Bateman, Ray, is he on the PUP or not on the PUP?
I have no idea.
He's been on and off the PUP more times than anybody in the history of football. Then you have, of course, Breece Hall, and we'll get into Dalvin Cook and that whole situation. Breece Hall is falling a little bit. And, you know, ultimately, whatever happens with Breece Hall probably hurts his ceiling, but still a great talent, great player. But, Ray, you did say that you've been, you know, in these best ball streets for a while, and your strategy's kind of changed over the last few days. Why don't you talk to the people about what you've noticed and what you've seen in some of these underdog drafts?
Yeah, I think for me, Jay, the biggest sort of revelation or takeaway that I've had over the first couple of days of training camp. So let me just say this. Like, I just love football, dude. I talk about this all the time. I love football. So right now, I'm very cognizant of how I say things. I'm tweeting out any video that crosses my timeline, I'm retweeting it. I just love football. I'm going to retweet it. But what I'm not saying is, this guy's the next star. This is the next fantasy superstar. I'm just saying it's a good play.
Next up.
It's a good rep. Yeah. This is a good play. I like what I'm seeing here. I like those things. So what I've noticed is, Jay, for me personally, and I'm really curious as to what you think and what the people think. I'm a little more confident in that like dead zone range of wide receiver. Remember, there was a point in time where it was like Calvin Ridley, Brandon Ayuk, Jackson Smith and Jigba, DJ Moore, Terry McLaurin. Yep. And they were all in that range of wide receiver where you kind of really didn't want them. You were like, do I really want to take Calvin Ridley or do I want to take somebody else? But when you start to look at Warp, right? And I'm looking at DK Metcalf, whose ADP is like 27, 28. What's the difference between DK Metcalf and Terry McLaurin? What's the difference between DK Metcalf and Brandon Ayuk? So with that Warp premise in mind, with some of those receivers that are actually giving you those wins above replacement, I've been hammering running back. This thing is still a half-point PPR thing. And it gives me more confidence that DJ Moore can play and produce close to what even a T. Higgins or Devontae Smith. What's the big difference between, not talking dynasty, we're talking seasonal format.
You know the answer. And we can go back to last show.
Well, and
quarterback play.
I feel a lot more confident in those kind of mid-tier receivers that I'm not reaching on DK Metcalf with an ADP of 27. Not going to do it. Give me Ramondre Stevenson. Give me Tony Pollard. Yep. Hell, I took JT at the back of the third last night. Like, we'll get into that in a minute.
What?
We'll get in that in a minute. But I think the big thing for me is I started off like Christian McCaffrey, Tony Pollard, Ramondre Stevenson. I'm good. I'll load up on DJ Moore, Terry McLaurin, Rashee Rice. Like, they're all the same. So I think for me, that was at least a strategy that I had in mind, and then I try to go deploy that. By the second round, all the running backs are gone now. Like, it's completely shifted in UD. Wait until about a week, Jay, when the new ADP starts to run. It's wild, man. Like last night, by round 6, round 7, it's Samaje Perine, Brian Robinson left. So for me, again, it's still a half PPR fantasy league. I want those guys. So we'll see how it plays out. But I just have a lot more confidence in some of those other receivers, at least early through training camp. It looks like the DJ Moore connection. I'm just telling you what it looks like from a week. It looked good. I get it. It's practice. It's shorts. It looks good. Brandon Ayuk looks good. These players look like they can produce. So I'm just not reaching for these guys that, from a WARP perspective, they're all flatline. They're all the same. So just sort of one of my takeaways, man.
Yeah, I know you hit on a really good point there because, when you're looking at some of these guys and, Calvin Ridley, there was the clip of him running the same route as Zay Jones, and the dude looked like he was running at double speed compared to Zay Jones, and everyone's freaking out, jumping Calvin Ridley up their boards, and he's, another riser on Underdog right now, but his ADP is already pretty high. But you kind of mentioned it, if you do go running back early, especially rounds 1, round 2, you can come back and hammer receiver for the next 4 or 5 rounds, and you'll feel confident with a pretty stable floor. But there's still the problem with the receivers is the ADP continues to go up because people want the stacks, they want the variance, they want the upside, and that always comes with stacking and taking wide receivers high, even in a 0.5 PPR format. But do you want to get into the news? Because there is so much circulating around the NFL. We got quick hitting news. We got more in-depth analysis, and it feels like it is never ending. We'd only been off for a week, but it feels like we got 3 weeks worth of news on this show coming up. But lots of cool things that are going on around the NFL.
I don't know what's happening. I don't know what he's doing.
What the hell is going on?
What's up? What's happening?
All right, Jay, what we got?
So this news is probably the funniest of the whole week, talking about Sean Payton versus Nathaniel Hackett. You said he went full Mike Zimmer on everybody, and he went and apologized afterwards, but he's basically telling the media that the Jets are trying to win the offseason with Aaron Rodgers and with these various things, these signings. They're bringing in Dalvin Cook, and they're doing Hard Knocks, and the record for teams on Hard Knocks is really not that good. So you talk about the expectations for the Jets. Sean Payton's basically pointing out the Jets aren't that good, and what happened with Nathaniel Hackett. And then Aaron Rodgers does an interview and asked about it, and he says, "Keep my coach's name out your mouth. Keep my coach's name out your mouth." Robert Saleh comes back and says, "If you ain't got no haters, you ain't popping." Yeah. And it's just crazy. So funny, man.
There's actually video of Aaron Rodgers and Sean Payton together after this happened, man. There's video. We got video right here, Jay. Check this out.
Oh, wow.
Will Smith, Chris Rock, Aaron Rodgers, Sean Payton. Listen, man, here's the thing. Here's the thing, Jay. Here's the thing with this situation. Nothing Sean Payton said was wrong. Nothing he said was wrong. But come on, dude. There's something about that fraternity. You don't throw another colleague like that under the bus. You don't
Sean
say
Payton's
it, right?
A dick, though. He's been that way forever.
Everyone
so I'm
knows
not that surprised.
You just don't say it. You just don't say it, Jay. Everyone knows it. You just don't say it. And I don't know if you all heard the interview that Aaron Rodgers gave on NFL Network. Actually listen to it. He was pissed, dude. Sometimes you hear the quotes and then you go listen to the actual interview, and it puts a different level of context on said quote. He was not happy about that. You can tell that he truly is a friend of Nathaniel Hackett, respects him, adores him as a human, as a coach, as a friend. And he was not feeling that. And what Aaron Rodgers said in that interview that was missing in the quotes was, he said if Sean Payton feels like he needs to do this as a way to cushion the disappointing season that they're already probably going to have. He kind of said, just because you're going to be terrible this year, or you might not perform up to standard, don't throw other people who, some of those guys are still in the building, if I'm not mistaken. So just just an interesting situation there. And then your boy Salah, said this.
I kind of live by saying, if you ain't got no haters, you ain't popping. So hate away. I kind of live by saying, if you ain't got no haters, you ain't popping.
If you ain't got no haters, you ain't popping. So hate away. That's how I feel every day. If people ain't hating on us and what we're doing,
to live by,
then we're not doing it right. So happy with everything that's going on. But it'll be interesting. And I'm going to be honest with you, Jay Rich. Can I be vulnerable with you and the people for a minute?
Safe space. There's only 250 people in here.
Safe space? Yeah. Okay. I was so sick of Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay drama. Everybody was. We were all tired of him.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed listening to him, man, with the Jets. I've enjoyed his interviews. I've enjoyed talking to him. Feels like he's got a breath of fresh air. And I don't think that's any different than what you and I, people watching this live, people watching this after the fact. I mean, we've all been in situations. Well, I hope we all have not, but some of us have been in situations where you just didn't like your job. You didn't like your boss. You were unhappy. You did the job because you wanted the paycheck and you had responsibilities as an adult to take care of. But when you get the new job, when you land that new spot, when you're in a place where you feel wanted and welcome and respected, you do things, you go above and beyond. You stay a little bit later. You work with your colleagues after work. You do some stuff on the weekends. You work, when you get home sometimes. Aaron Rodgers out here taking pay cuts, great interviews, seeming motivated, seems rejuvenated. I've enjoyed him, Jay. I've enjoyed him over the past couple of weeks, man.
Yeah, I mean, he's been there, 18 years in Green Bay? So you just get it from the standpoint of that. Like, anyone who's been at their job for 18 years is like, yeah, some change would actually be pretty nice. And someone who will not be changing, Ray, and I don't know your thoughts on this, but he certainly seems like he sold out his brothers in the running back community. Saquon Barkley signed a contract with the New York Giants, Ray. It wasn't for $15 million. It wasn't for $14 million. It wasn't for $13 million. It wasn't for $12 million.
Nope.
$11 million? This guy broke. He had the picket line. He was saying the right things. He was doing the right things.
Broke it.
He crossed the picket line for $900,000, Ray. And, $2 million in incentives. Most of it is geared towards making the playoffs. So he will have to play the whole season to make the playoffs. It is, again, I'm not against anyone getting their money.
He sold out his
but he sold out 100%.
What's Saquon doing? Shit.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Josh Jacobs is in Ibiza right now, chilling, not at training camp, where Saquon's running in the dirt with the boys, just hanging out, taking his $11 million.
Being a great teammate, doing it for being a company man, being that good company man. Listen, Saquon said the best thing for him was to get on the field and play. That deal was an incentive-laden $900,000 bonus if he hits some of the highest numbers he's ever hit in his career. He's only hit that reception total once. He's never gotten that many yards, and he's only done the touchdowns one time. And he only gets that money if the Giants make the playoffs. So, I don't know, man. This whole situation is just wild to me. It's wild, and I don't think it's getting any better anytime soon. What else we got, Jay?
And then we had NFL Network's Mike Garafolo talked about how the Raiders offered Josh Jacobs a $12 million contract, so more than Saquon Barkley, and he declined that. And as we mentioned, he was reported last week that he's gone. We don't know where he is, not that we really care, but he is not at training camp, not at Vegas, not expected back anytime soon. Should be back for the start of week 1. We'll see. I mean, honestly, the reports have actually been more positive recently on Jacobs than in previous weeks. It seems like he may just be taking time off to chill, not going to training camp, but will be back for week 1 unless anything changes. But Ray, the biggest news, the scariest news by far last week was in fact Joe Burrow going down with the calf injury. Now, we did have some time to get some reports of what actually happened. He was carted off. And, basically what happened, little calf aggravation, should be out several weeks, according to Zach Taylor, their head coach. We don't know how long it's going to be, but I believe it was last year. He had an appendectomy, so he didn't play all of preseason and was just fine. So we'll see if it lingers into the season. Again, he's not a mobile quarterback, so it doesn't hurt him on that front. Burrow's going to stand there in the pocket, deliver the ball. We just hope that he's healthy for week 1, and we'll be fine. But if not, that could be a bit of a problem for us, Ray. Do you have any fears over Burrow potentially missing week 1? He's got 4 weeks, almost 5 weeks, actually. It probably is closer to 5 weeks now. Should be all right, though, hopefully.
If it's a cat, listen, it's not the Achilles. And when I saw the video initially, and I'm no medical doctor, I'm just an old hapless soul who suffered the Achilles injury about a year ago myself. But immediately when I saw him be able to move his foot, I was like, oh, he's good.
He'll
At least
be good,
that's good. Because
you know
that
flexion.
You know what I mean? And you were there when I tore mine. I couldn't do anything. That thing was just like hanging. It was just limp. So any fear of him missing week 1? No. Is there some fear that, man, maybe this can linger? Maybe this, it gets aggravated? Sure. But there's no way to confidently say, I'm not Joe Burrow. I'm not the doctor. I mean, I think that what if this lingers? But is this going to give me any fear that I don't want him? I want to trade him. I don't want to draft him. Absolutely not. I still want Joe Burrow, still drafting him with confidence. And I'm still excited about what he's going to do with Cincinnati this fall.
Yeah, just unfortunate because he hasn't got his contract extension yet, but we know that should be coming down the pipe at some point this offseason.
It's coming.
And we'll see what happens with that. Obviously, we'll get to Herbert in a second, but Jalen Ramsey, Ray, torn meniscus, full repair, out till at least December, it seems. Really unfortunate for the Dolphins because I was really excited for this Dolphins defense, and Jalen Ramsey was going to be a massive part of that. I still think they'll be very good with Vic Fangio, but this takes away some of the scheme things that he can do with those two defensive backs on the back end. So you look at what Ramsey provides. We don't know what it's going to be till December, but hopefully for the playoffs, he will be back. But I think, you talk about Tua and his upside. I think the defense is part of that, right? When you see San Francisco and the things that he provides, or they provide Brock Purdy on offense in that offense, you'd see similar things in Miami with shorter fields and things of those nature, turnovers that Vic Fangio is great for. So Ramsey will not be a big part of that. And then the other point, Ray, talking about running backs, Sony Michel retired at 28, and the Rams went out and signed Royce Freeman to replace him as a camp body. Just a camp body, nothing more than that. But, you put in the notes, reminder that NFL stands for not for long. Running backs retiring at 28, and honestly, that's kind of even a little bit old for some guys.
Congrats
Felt
to
like
Sony,
David Johnson retired at 26.
Let's give Sony Michel a round of applause. Congrats to Sony
First round
Michel for an outstanding career, right? He made it to the league, was a first-round pick. Believe he won a Super Bowl. I think he's got a Super Bowl ring.
Yep. He scored the only touchdown in that Super Bowl.
He's going to get all the full medical benefits from playing in the NFL. He's vested. Congratulations to him. Fantastic college career. Got to play in the NFL and decided to step away at 20. I just think about how young 28 is, man. I was around my family this weekend and just seeing 27-year-olds, 28 years old, how young they are and how disrespectful we are in fantasy calling those young men old at 28, 29 years old, right? I'm almost 37 and I'm feeling every bit of it. But congrats to Sony for calling it quits and gotten to live out his dream in the NFL. Yeah, Jay, what else we got?
Justin Herbert, Ray. Big extension for old Justin Herbert. Finally, the bag was given to Mr. Herbert. 5 years, $262.5 million, $218 million guaranteed. Ray, his new contract with the rookie year and the fifth-year option is 7 years, $297 million, and he will be a free agent at 31 years old with $300 million in the bank. I don't even want to know what these quarterbacks are going to be making because, you think about Herbert at 31. Hey, how about you give me another 5 years, $100 million a year contracts because that's what the contracts will be. Right now, contracts are $60 million a year, and he got more than, I believe, Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson got more than Hurts. Herbert got more than Lamar, and then I'm assuming Burrow will get something slightly north of what Herbert got.
Yes.
But my goodness. Holy, these contracts. It's funny because you see the Geno Smith contract, the Daniel Jones contract, these are becoming more and more valuable as half price discounts when you look into those guys. And then we have as well Cole Kmet, 4 years, $50 million extension. That was kind of surprising. We were hoping for
that came out of nowhere.
Running back news.
That one came out of
running
nowhere.
back news, and we got Cole Kmet extended. Woo! We're so excited about that. But down the stretch, he was a great tight end for them last year. Obviously, a big part of their future. And then you mentioned it when we talked about Aaron Rodgers. His pay cut, 2 years, $75 million, fully guaranteed. I believe he dropped $40 million off of his pay cut, and he only has a $9 million cap hit this year. So that's huge for them when they're talking about future. Bring in guys, signing players, and more importantly, adding to this roster. Antonio Gibson expected to be the third down back in Vietnamese Commanders offense. So, Ray, you're happy to hear that.
Joe, where's Joe at? Joe, we're back again. It's like year 3, Joe. Antonio Gibson, let's get it.
Yeah, so we'll see. Hopefully you can have a first and second down role too, not just third downs. But as you mentioned and made the case for, McKinnon was great with Mahomes, not with Sam Howell, but in that role last year. You have the Bills offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey said James Cook has quote unquote 3-down potential. Ray, you were not so sold. So if you want to go check out Ray's analysis, check out the film session on the YouTube channel. Ken Dorsey, Ray, seems to think differently.
3 down, I'll believe it when I see it. I think he's okay. 3 down, I'll believe. I listened to Ramondre Stevenson at 250 pounds talk about how worn out he was at the end of the season. Literally, Ramondre was like, "Man, by the end of the year, I was hurting. It was tough. It was a grind, and he's 250. You're telling me James Cook at 200 is going to be a 3-down back from week 1 through week 18? We shall see. I like James Cook. If they use him the way that they probably should, I think he's going to be awesome. If they try to pound him 22, 21, 23, 24, right up the middle, that A-B gap, and they're doing that 15, 16, 17 times a game, I don't think it will end well, and I stand by that.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think, he just doesn't have the frame for that, especially in the NFL. And that's why they brought in Damian Harris, right? They have Latavius Murray as well to spell some of those carries. But you were talking about Ramondre Stevenson, and kind of the last news that we're waiting to see because it seems inevitable at this point. We talked about the Jets and their running back situation.
Yeah.
The Patriots are adding a running back. They worked out Leonard Fournette. They worked out Zeke Elliott over the weekend as well. And they're waiting to hopefully bring in Dalvin Cook. He already visited with the Jets. We'll talk about that next after we get through Jonathan Taylor. But Ray, does this move anything for you with Ramondre? Because we like Ramondre, but it seems inevitable at this point they will add a running back.
No. Fire him up. Okay. Draft him with full confidence. I think they look behind him. Pierre Strong, Kevin Harris, Ty Montgomery hurt again. Training camp just started. He's already hurt. Ezekiel Elliott probably still the best third down back as far as pass protection in the NFL. Offensive line is a little shaky. You don't have a lot of receivers that can separate early. You need max protection. I don't know how Ramondre is in that department, but I know what Zeke is. He was out with Mac Jones. We'll see where he goes. If Zeke signs there, I'm a lot less concerned about Zeke in New England than I would be Dalvin Cook in New England. I would be I would love it. Sure. Let him come in there to absorb some of those carries. Keep Ramondre Stevenson fresh. I'm all in on him for 2023. It's wheels up for Ramondre for me, man.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think, they bring in a guy. It's just interesting to see Bill trying out all these guys. And in the past, he has had a lot of success bringing in veteran running backs and giving them quite a bit of work. But Ray, we have to talk about the big dog, former running back one, because this is probably, you want to talk about running back drama, and we've seen a lot of it this offseason. This is by far the worst. And this situation seems like it's just about unfixable at this point. So where do you want to start with the weekend that was Jim Irsay versus Jonathan Taylor and his agent and this entire running back market as a whole?
Man, where to start, Jay? I found a tweet. Let me see if I could find it. I don't know if I bookmarked it or if I liked it, but it sort of laid out the timeline of this. All right. So let's take a look at this, right? I'm going to pull this up right now. Let's just take a look at this timeline together and kind of talk through it, because I really, Jay, I don't know. I don't know what to think about this situation. It feels kind of like they can't come back from this. I don't know, Jay. I don't know. So here goes a little timeline. So Irsay tweets about the running back situation, saying agents are selling, bad faith. And then Taylor went to GM Chris Ballard asking to be traded several days before this. Taylor's agent responds saying bad faith is not paying your best player. Irsay says the team hasn't and doesn't plan on offering JT an extension. Yikes. Then you get Irsay invites Jonathan Taylor to his private bus. They have a meeting. Not long after that meeting, JT's trade request becomes public. Irsay reaffirms they won't offer him an extension. Irsay then says, if I die tonight and Jonathan Taylor's out of the league, no one will miss us. Colts now considering placing JT on NFI, non-football injury list, which would forfeit his 2023 salary. What's next? Listen, man, this is this isn't good. We joke and we do all this stuff and we talk about running backs and this seems bad to me. I don't know how else to say this, but it feels like this type of disagreement should not be made public between the commander-in-chief of that franchise, right? Jim Irsay, and their best player, Jonathan Taylor. And I listened to, Jay, and I don't know if you did, but I listened to Irsay, we're reading it. I listened to him and watched his mannerisms on NFL Network. He seemed dead-ass serious, man. He's on there talking about when the Colts were losing money, I'm the one that did this, and I'm the one that was dropping billions of dollars and hundreds of millions of dollars, and I've built this franchise. And he's talking like, I don't give a damn who you are. I'm running the show. And he said, JT will not be here next year. He's this year, and then that's it. I don't know, Jay. We continue to talk about the RB position, and for what we're here to analyze, right? Fantasy football, are these guys going to be there when we need them most? And right now, we talked about Josh Jacobs is still at the top of the list for me. I'm not even think Jacobs
so
is
really,
not.
So I got to ask you though, because I'm almost there, Ray. Is Jacobs still higher than Jonathan Taylor? Because honestly, this situation, if it gets any worse, I mean, okay, so
How?
the other part
of this
was apparently JT reported to training camp with a back injury, and that's why he failed his physical and went on the PUP. JT again goes on Twitter last night and says, never had back pain, never reported back pain, not sure who the sources are. So you're like, okay, which one is it? Because the Colts want to put him on the NFI list so they don't have to pay him. Same situation kind of with J.K. Dobbins, and we didn't really talk about that much, but it's the same situation where he's on the PUP, doesn't have to report, but won't get paid if this happens. And on top of that, Michael Giannini from Spotrac said, running back Jonathan Taylor needs to tread lightly with a potential holdout. Not only will he be fined $40,000 per day missed by the Colts, but also risk losing an accrued season for 2023, which would render him a restricted free agent next March instead of an unrestricted player. So you talk about like all these issues, and this is the implications of a potential hold in as well. When we're talking about Dobbins, talking about JT, like, these are guys who could get fined lots of money. And we were talking about this pre-show, like running backs are the lowest paid position, but are like 10 times more likely to hold out than any other player. And so it's like, where is the tipping point? And so going back to the question now, JT or Josh Jacobs, who are you more fearful of not playing in week 17?
I'd say they're neck and neck. I mean, if I'm being real, they're probably neck and neck. They're probably...
Yes. 100%.
This seems bad. Like this feels like
this is bigger than player coach, right? This is player owner representation. Public
I need
battle.
to wake up. I need my wake up fam to where have we seen this play out before where star player and owner are publicly into it? In the NBA,
I don't think I've ever seen it.
You see it in the NBA.
In the NBA, yeah, but players have much more control in the NBA.
Right, we see it in the NBA. I'm not sure about Major League Baseball. That seems like a whole different animal. I don't think you really see that in baseball with a player and an owner going at it. I can't see. What is it? Who's the owner? Steinbrenner? Did he run the Yankees at some point?
Steinbrenner, yeah.
I can't see Jeter and Steinbrenner getting into it. This is Here's my thing. My dynasty advice is this is the worst time to trade Jonathan Taylor. I would not be selling because everyone's going to be trying to buy from you dirt cheap. Everyone is going to be trying to capitalize.
If you get a first, would you take it?
Would you say?
Would you take a first? First?
No.
Okay.
No. I'm not selling. I'm not selling them right now. Like I'm not doing it. Worst case scenario, he doesn't play this year. Do I think Jonathan Taylor's never going to play football again? No. Best case, what if they just trade? What if they trade him? What if they trade him? Is that a possibility? What if they just ship him away?
But we know there's no market, right? We know like Saquon Barkley was apparently like his valuation was like a 5th round pick. So like what are you going to get for him? So the point for Irsay, and we know how, like, again, you talk about loudmouth owners. Jerry Jones is number 1. Irsay's probably number 2. When you talk about owners being very loud in the media and vocal about their franchises, Irsay would just be spiteful. He wouldn't trade JT. He just let him rot on the team, whether he plays or not.
He said this year, he said, we are not extending him. He said that. We're not extending you.
Yeah. And then the only other case of them paying a player on the NFI was actually when Andrew Luck retired early. The Colts did actually honor his salary for that season, but as you mentioned, they're not going to do that with Jonathan Taylor. So wheels up for whoever's in the Colts backfield. They did draft Evan Hall, as Elwood kind of just threw in the chat. But yeah, we don't know who's going to play, and it's a bit of a problem. And now running backs are getting crazy.
Anthony Richardson is going to become the 4th quarterback in NFL history to run for it. Let's really quickly, how does this impact Anthony Richardson? If you don't have a motivated Jonathan Taylor on the field week 1 of the season, how does this impact ARich, man?
I think the problem is you would still probably see the stacked boxes without the threat of the running back, right? So you think about that, he's not going to be able to run as easily. Linebackers are fast, and they're not going to necessarily be as fast as ARich, but some of them might be in some of those games, right? So you talk about the sideline-to-sideline defense will be a lot easier, and when you don't have a whole lot of downfield targets like Pittman, more of an intermediate guy. We obviously will get to the video and the shot to Alec Pierce seen around the world, but he'll still see those same fronts, but with much less firepower up front. So there isn't the threat of the run in the read option. You'll happily let the running back take it because you know that ARich is the bigger threat.
There it is, Leo. Leo has it. ARB1. I mean, he's probably going to have to run a lot. I get people excited about Evan Hall. You definitely have to take a little stab there. They still have Zach Moss. I think Zach Moss would probably be the first guy up. He played well last year.
Yep.
You've got Deion Jackson,
years, right?
but this would be arguably the worst running back room in the league. And if something were to persist into the season, do they go pick up a Kareem Hunt? Do they bring in a Leonard Fournette? I don't know.
I think they would for sure. Irsay would say, forget it. Sign him, right? They need a body. They would at that point for sure.
This is just a bad situation. So we'll see how it plays out. And once you start saying stuff publicly, it's like you've already said it, so you got to double down and you can't walk. You know, men, we just got too much pride to say, shouldn't have said that. Walk it back. This is our guy. We want him here. Now I'm doubling down, tripling down. This is probably not going to end well. I hope it does, but it's
the tip of the iceberg,
it is right now. It does not feel optimistic that it's going to end well, Jay. And yet we go to the Jets and Dalvin Cook is chilling on the sidelines, but no deal with Dalvin Cook and the Jets yet. So where are we at with this situation?
So free agent running back Dalvin Cook visited the Jets on Sunday, watched the entire practice from the sidelines, and received a physical. So we'll see. 3,000 fans in attendance. They were very excited for old Dalvin Cook. And, we have been very weary because we do love ourselves some Breece Hall.
We love
But
Breece.
Cook took the physical, met with Robert Saleh, and the Jets are interested in having him. And we talked about the Aaron Rodgers pay cut already, but, Dalvin Cook hasn't quite got there yet. They wind him, they dine him, they talk to him. He'll probably end up being on Hard Knocks as well, which would be really interesting to see how that all plays out because that will start this week. But, Ray, where are you at with Dalvin Cook? Because it was initially the Dolphins, then there's rumors of the Patriots, now we're back to the Jets, and then even Bill Belichick said he wants to bring Cook in for a visit and a physical. They brought in some of the other running backs. They want to bring in Cook as well. But a lot of people were saying that it's very unlikely that Cook leaves New York without a deal. And even Dalvin Cook said that he seems pretty likely to end up on the Jets as well. So where do you want to start with this as well? Connor Hughes from Sports New York's or SNY's said that Michael Carter would be the odd man out in this situation. So anyone who has Michael Carter would not be great because he will probably not make the team if Dalvin Cook signs. But where do you want to start with Dalvin Cook and obviously Breece Hall and the fallout of that? We talked about it on the Risers and Fallers, but I think that Cook is very interesting in New York, and we've talked about this a lot of what he could bring to this offense overall.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great move for the Jets. I mean, what the Jets are doing right now, we continue to talk about it. It's a fantastic football move for the Jets. Dalvin Cook is still one of the most talented running backs in the NFL. You put him on this offense that has a significantly better upgrade at quarterback in Aaron Rodgers. You're talking about the receiving weapons that they have in New York. Offensive line, they've invested in that position. You've got Breece Hall coming back from ACL. This gives him a little bit of time. He's still, I believe he's still 2 to 3 weeks out from practicing right now. So gives them a proven veteran that they can throw in there and give the ball to 20 times a game if they need that to happen for their running back. So would this be good for Breece Hall? No. It's not good for Breece. It's not good for Dalvin. It's great for the Jets. It's not good for either of those guys. And if Dalvin Cook signs in New York, even if it's a one-year deal, you have to significantly downgrade the expectations that you have for Breece Hall coming into 2023. For me, all those guys coming back from ACL tears, Jay, I'm just lower on. I'm not in on Javonte Williams still at his ADP cost on Underdog. I'm a little weary of Breece Hall with an ADP. What was he at, 30 on Underdog? I'm a little
he's like
concerned
36 right now.
About that.
Still third round.
I love him. I think he's a great running back. You bring in Dalvin Cook, that tells me everything I need to know with as far as the Jets' plan for 2023, because you don't sign him to put him on the bench or give him a carry or two. He's going to be a big part of that offense. It is what it is. That's just what it's going to be, and you got to deal with that. And in Dynasty, you have to determine whether you want to sit through that for another year or if you want to say, you know what, year 2, injured, I'm not going to get the true production I want until year 3. By the time we hit year 3, we already know how the Dynasty community treats year 3 running backs. Just wait until we get Donovan Edwards and Rocket Sanders and Travion Henderson and Braylon Allen next year, and then you're looking at Breece like, I may rather have Hendo. I don't know. So this is just a situation where great football move, but probably not the best thing for us in fantasy. We all know it. Don't overthink. And it's just adjust your expectations for Breece Hall. Jay, we are contractually obligated to talk about this every Wake Up show. But damn it, we got information, so we're going to do it. San Francisco, let's go out west. Let's talk about the 49ers QBs. Trey Lance apparently had a fantastic day yesterday. Shout out to my dog, Eric Crocker. over there at the Crocker Report, man. That's my guy. He's out there at 49ers camp covering the 49ers. Said that both quarterbacks look good yesterday. No Brock Purdy. Don't think he's playing, practicing every single day. Croc said if he had to give the edge to a quarterback, Sam Darnold had the better day. It seems like when Trey Lance is not playing on the same practice field with Brock Purdy, he's outstanding. When Brock Purdy's in practice, Trey Lance stinks. Everything that's come out, Jay, can we finally put to bed who the starting quarterback is going to be? Is everybody okay moving forward now saying that Brock Purdy is the starter for the 49ers? The coaches are saying it. The team is saying it. They're pushing this camp battle, but it doesn't feel like a camp battle to me. Everything that I've heard, little rusty, that should be a given, right? That should be a given, but no loss in arm strength. He looks the same. Everybody says, can we finally put to bed the question of who the starting quarterback for San Francisco is going to be?
I mean, you and I can. I don't know if everyone's willing to accept it yet, but definitely, when finally we've been waiting for this for months, Shanahan came out and said, Brock Purdy is the starting quarterback, and he's taking all the reps of the ones. And as you mentioned, Sam Darnold and Trey Lance have been splitting QB2, QB3 reps. But Nick Wagner reported that the 49ers hope Brock Purdy no longer requires scheduled days off within 2 weeks. So in the next 2 weeks or so, they're hoping he'll be able to practice every day, throw every day. At that point, you'd be pretty confident in him playing and practicing every day, and then obviously starting on Sundays. And then he's talking about Trey Lance. The 49ers would likely turn down a substantial trade offer for Trey Lance. So not only is he reporting that Purdy is going to be the starter and should be without restrictions in 2 weeks, but also he's reporting that the 49ers would likely turn down any trade offer for Trey Lance, which means if you do have him, he is stuck on your roster for this season. Like, he is stuck there. There's nothing you can do. And didn't he also sign there's Jordan Love who signed the deal to go through the 5th year.
Yeah, that was Love.
But yeah, it was Love who got that weird 2-year deal.
It's Brock Purdy. It's Brock Purdy. He's a starter. Like it, hate it, it's Brock. Reports are Trey Lance going to be the third quarterback.
Woof.
Man.
Third quarterback? Like, Ray, at that point, why aren't we going to pick up Sam Darnold off waivers? Like,
you should.
This is the 49ers quarterback situation. They're never healthy anyways. Whether it's Brock Purdy or not, it sounds like you want some Sam Darnold on your rosters if you can get him, because no one wanted him. People said he was going to get cut, wasn't going to make the team. Now all of a sudden he's out playing Trey Lance, and Brock Purdy is back. Like, this is a great situation. I think, we'll see what happens, but I'm excited, man. You know me, I got a lot of Brock Purdy, bought him in the offseason, drafted him, picked him up off waivers. Like, and we had a discussion in our Discord. What would it take for you to sell Brock Purdy? And my whole response to you was, I'm not selling. Like, I've been waiting for this quarterback for the 49ers for years. It was supposed to be Jimmy Garoppolo. It never was. It was like, you're going to go all the way back to like Alex Smith when he was the quarterback of the Niners. And that was even before Shanahan got there. So you like, this situation with McCaffrey, with Kittle, with Ayuk, with Debo, like, there isn't a better situation in some regard in the league paired with that defense. Like, no matter what you think of Brock Purdy, and you laid this out a few shows ago, he could be a QB1 simply because the players around him are so talented.
Jay,
and that may just take him all the way to QB1.
People laughed at me. I said, if he's healthy and playing week 1, you've got to look at him as potentially being a top 12 guy just off of the byproduct of the offense. He was good last year. He had top 10 games last year as a rookie with minimal practice. So if he's healthy, if he's the guy, if he's out there week 1, I think Brock Purdy has just as much chance to finish top 12 as a lot of those other guys that are in that back half of the QB ranks. So it seems like he's the guy. I've accepted it. Hopefully most people have. We'll see how this continues to play out. Will Trey get a shot this year? Probably.
No.
Everybody in San Francisco gets hurt, right? Running backs, receivers, quarterbacks. Probably will get a shot, but it's seeming like Brock is the guy. We can finally move forward, stop peddling the draft capital and all this stuff for Trey Lance. You got to be consistent thrower to football. They're not patient. They want to use Brock Purdy. It is what it is, Jay.
Last
He'll be playing the second half of those Rams games before some hype. Backfield issues in Seattle. I mean,
oh man, you want to talk about bad in Seattle? My goodness.
Ken Walker.
Ray, talk to the people what's going on.
Kenneth Walker hurt, groin injury, week to week, not even day to day, week to week for Kenneth Walker. So that's great. Then you got Zach Charbonnet, who's also out, second straight practice, out indefinitely, shoulder discomfort. DJ Dallas, Kenny McIntosh, and
That's
I don't even know
That's
who
the
else
list.
they have.
that's the list, right? They don't even have Travis Homer anymore because he's on the Bears.
Where's Chris
And,
Carson? Where's Chris Carson when we need him? I mean, this is
the neck for Chris Carson's no good anymore.
It's freaking
this
running
is bad.
back. It's running
Scary
back.
hours.
This is brutal. This is the position. I don't know.
But this is why Scott Connor preaches any running back on a 53. Imagine those fourth round shares of Kenny McIntosh now.
I got
Worth
some.
At least a third, right? Like it's scary. And all the reporters who are close to the situation kind of believe that Zach Charbonnet will be out longer than Kenneth Walker by the way that Pete Carroll talked about it. I was reading the report put out today by ESPN, and Pete Carroll basically said, Zach Charbonnet was just practicing and he kind of just felt this weird pop. It wasn't like it was contact. It wasn't like he did anything weird. It just kind of happened with a, awkward movement. And now they're waiting for the reports on his actual prognosis and how long it will be. But yeah, it seems like it'll be a while. You talk about Walker, probably 2 to 3 weeks, depending on the severity of the groin injury. We'll see kind of how long he's out, but he's got, 5 weeks to recover. At that point, he should be fine. But with this shoulder issue, could be longer, maybe short. Hopefully it's not too bad. But a lot of people invested pretty good draft capital in Charbonnet, and it looks like he's missing the preseason, which for a rookie running back is not great because Kenneth Walker knows the system, but Charbonnet has to kind of prove it throughout training camp to really get to where we're at.
All right, Jay. It's time to get hyped.
Woo!
Let's get into some of these training camp videos and talk about some of these players. Let's just have a conversation about some of these guys, Jay. And we have shown a lot of love to Anthony Richardson, to Bryce Young, to all these rookie quarterbacks. Little love to CJ Stroud. But Jay, everything that we're seeing and hearing from the Houston Texans is CJ Stroud is looking good. And you see him right here. Little play action pass, 5-step drop, dime to Tank Dell. You see Tank Dell out there, the little wide receiver from Houston. Can he play consistently? Can he have a role in the NFL? You see him right here. Nice little switch release right there. Difficult to cover. But there he is. How are we feeling about CJ Stroud right now, Jay Rich? How you feeling about old CJ?
I feel a little better about him. He signed his contract too, which is another big domino to fall. Signed his contract. I believe he got $36 million, being the second overall pick. But yeah, I mean, it's I was big in CJ Stroud because of the accuracy, because of all those things. But he went to Houston, so I was kind of like, I don't know. Robert Woods, Tank Dell, Dalton Schultz, Nico Collins, hype galore. You want to talk about Nico Collins? The only one who can beat him for hype is Justyn Ross, and we'll get into Justyn Ross. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited for Stroud. I think he will be good. I'm curious how they build the system kind of around him. We talked about the Shanahan system and what we expect from them. We'll see how DeMeco Ryans implements maybe a similar offense or something a little bit different. They did bring in some players and some coaches from that system, so I'll be curious how that develops. But yeah, I mean, that's a dime. That's why he won
that's what CJ
all these
Stroud
accuracy
is, right?
competitions, man. That's what he does.
That's what he is. He's a ball placement specialist. That's what he called himself coming into the draft process, ball placement specialist, and we're seeing him do that. So I'm excited for him. Not a lot of talk around CJ Stroud. Houston, we know what that situation is, so I'm not surprised, Jay. But the talk of the week, at least early through camp, because everybody's excited to see him play, is RB1, Bijan Robinson. You see him here in the most unfair drill for us defenders, damn one-on-ones. Always skewed to the offensive player. But you see Big Bijan, double move, one-handed grab, touchdown. I mean, this is what you want. You want to see him do this and catch passes. We know he's going to run the ball behind this run-dominant offense. But Bijan Robinson had the timeline going crazy, Jay, over this catch. You feeling a little better about Bijan after this one?
Yeah, I feel pretty good about Bijan. I mean, I don't know who number 44 is.
That's Troy Anderson.
But he ran is he
ran
any good?
a 4.40 at the combine or pro day.
Really?
Yeah, he's very fast.
Bijan
but that doesn't
making
matter.
him not look so good. No, it doesn't matter when you can't
short
get
area quickness is a little different than straight line max velocity. But
yeah,
Bijan's
can I see this 3-cone drill?
Bijan's looking good. I think a lot of the rookie running backs, at least the top two guys that are, I tweeted this out the other day, Jay. There's a big difference between running backs who can catch passes and running backs who can be deployed as pass catching weapons. When you're looking at Bijan Robinson, when you're looking at a Jahmyr Gibbs, and you're seeing players have an ability. This is something Derrick Henry doesn't do, right? Like, this isn't a route Derrick Henry or Nick Chubb or Joe Mixon are probably going to run. And I think this archetype of running back, like the pass-catching specialist type guys, Bijan, Gibbs, these will be the players that the NFL teams will covet moving forward and maybe even potentially pay moving forward because they are so diverse and they bring a different flavor and uniqueness to an NFL offense. Love what I'm seeing from him, but I got something for your ass, Jay Rich.
Oh, really? Oh, really?
Hey,
I don't
something
see
for you, buddy.
I don't see the Calvin Ridley clip in the doc because that was pretty big
Ridley.
too.
We're going to talk about this one. We're going to revisit this conversation, and I'm going to ask you again. I'm looking in the camera. Jay Rich, does the combination of Justin Fields and DJ Moore, can they be a top 10 option in the NFL in 2023? Because everything that I'm seeing looks phenomenal right now.
Let's watch this clip. I've never seen this.
It's just dots. It's just Justin Fields and DJ Moore. That's all that. I haven't seen him complete a pass to anybody outside of DJ Moore and Cole Kmet, and they're all downfield. And it looks good, Jay. He looks confident. The team says he's playing phenomenal in training camp practices. You slandered this show and desecrated my name by saying they're not even a top 20 option wide receiver quarterback.
15.
Do you want to follow in the same footsteps as Jim Irsay, or would you like to just admit maybe I was a little too negative and this combination is looking pretty good?
I'm not going to try and put my name in the same breath as Jim Irsay. Let's try and, just distinguish that slightly here. But no, Ray, I'm not backing off that stance. The clip you just showed me, what's the big factor here, Ray? What is missing from that clip that you showed me? Yes, there's a secondary, but what is there not? There is no pass rush. There's no pass rush at all.
Okay,
Justin Fields, his biggest issue, holds the ball too long, takes too many sacks, and when he does see pressure, he runs. So that's where all the pass attempts go away. Is he runs, he takes sacks, and I think it was Cody from the Overreaction Pod calculated that it was like almost 20%, or he dropped the stat at least on his podcast. It was like 20% of his dropbacks resulted in sacks or rushing attempts. So that's not great. And, the connection with DJ Moore will be great. It'll be fine. You see him burning him on a 9 route. But again, the Bears
so you
were
don't
the worst
think this
team in
could
the
be
league.
a top 10 combination this fall? You are not buying it.
I am still not even sold on DJ Moore having 1,000 yards. I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not sold on him having 1,000 yards. He might, but I'm not sold on that happening. Because then you're talking about probably Fields throwing for at least 3,200 and him having basically 30% of those receiving yards.
Well, I want to look, Jay. So let's, I want to see what Justin Fields, because I think I took an under on his over-under total on prize picks for the season. Let me just see where they have him at. So right now, here's the over
2,800 on DraftKings.
2930 for Justin Fields, 2,930 and a half yards, over under that.
Yeah, I mean, I would put the under. DK has it at 2,800 right now. And I might do my pod on this today, but he was the third lowest over-under for passing yards. He was barely ahead of ARich and barely ahead of Desmond Ridder, who we both expect to not throw the ball a whole lot. So, but again, he could surprise me. But a top 10, again, we talked about this. There's literally duos of receivers that I would take over Justin Fields and DJ Moore on one team. So
let's go to a player who has been, again, Jay, over-under right now, 32.75 and a half. On prize picks, and everything that I'm hearing out of camp, he's looked great. I'm talking about launch code Dimes. Daniel Jones. Jay Rich. How long have we been saying the cheapest top 10 quarterback potential you can get in fantasy football is Daniel Eugene Jones? I'm telling you right now, the cheapest you can get, Daniel launch code Eugene Dimes Jones. I'm all in on him. I'm all in on Darren Waller. I want him, Jay. Give me this Brian Daboll offense. Give me Daniel Jones' rushing upside. Give me an improved offense to where he could put the ball downfield. Say what you want about the receivers. There is continuity with Slayton, with Hodgins. He's working that thing out with Sterling Shepard. They've got Paris Campbell. And then you bring in Darren Waller. Saquon Barkley is back, knowing he needs to pay. Why are people still not in on Daniel Jones? I get it. He's just got this look. He just looks regular, right? He's just not cool.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. He looks like a regular guy.
He's just regular.
Right?
He's just an average Joe.
Just a guy, yeah.
But I'm all in, Jay. I want him this year, 2023, redraft and in Dynasty. I think this is a player, again, sneaky, the sneakiest of top. Damn, he was there last year. What was he, 10th?
He was there last year. Yeah, he wasn't sneaky. He was a top 12 quarterback last season. And like you mentioned,
15 touchdowns and like 2,000 passing yards. And he was top 10. He was 10th.
3,200 passing yards, 15 touchdowns, 5 picks. But like you mentioned, the rushing upside, the highest we've seen from him in ages, 700 rushing yards, 7 touchdowns, 120 attempts. And you know, for me at least, it's the Daboll effect. And I've admitted this on the show many times. I'm a firm believer of what Brian Daboll is doing for this offense. And you can say they have 1,000 slot receivers. He wouldn't do that without a plan, in my opinion. They wouldn't bring in these guys without a plan. And, you know, you talk about bringing in Cole Beasley. Well, how does that matter? Well, because he was a 100-target receiver in Brian Daboll's offense the last time he was with Daboll. So I'd probably trust that a little bit because he knows the system. He can run the plays if need be and be another weapon for Daniel Jones to move the chains. And you talk about Dimes himself. That clip was to Darius Slayton, the player that nobody wants. Right? No one wants him, even though he's the deep threat. Jalen Hyatt, zero talk about him, even though he's supposed to be this deep threat in the slot.
He finally got some buzz yesterday. He got some buzz yesterday.
So he's not running with the third team anymore. That's good. But back to Daniel Jones, I'm with you. I think that he can definitely be a top 12 quarterback this season, and I would want to invest in him. The Giants didn't commit to him fully in terms of contract, but I think he's just about there now. I think he's just about there, and if he can take a step forward, right, and even throw for 20 passing touchdowns and have very similar output otherwise, a lot of people, and I believe it was JJ who pointed this out, said he should regress in the touchdown department this season a little bit, maybe down to like a 5. But I think that overall, what we saw from Jones, you can see the progression in the passing game, maybe a little bit of decline in terms of rushing touchdowns, but everything else should be there for Jones to have another phenomenal season in 2023.
And here's the this is where real football crosses over with fantasy, right? Because you look at the receiving core, it's the top 3 worst receiver room because they don't have names. Okay, that may be true individually as isolated receivers, however, that's not how football works. Continuity and scheme. If you've got continuity, scheme, and you've got a well-executed plan, these are NFL players, yo. Like, you understand that, right? Like, these guys are NFL receivers. They're NFL players, so they're not fucking bums out there playing receiver. Like, Darius Slayton may not be a sexy name, but he's fast and he can get downfield. Hodgins, Campbell, Waller. When you have the scheme and you can execute an offense, you can scheme defenses, right? You don't have to have Julio Jones and A.J. Brown. Do those players help? Absolutely, unequivocally, yes. But can you orchestrate and operate an offense that is absent those guys? And the answer to that is yes. We saw it last year. This receiving room is no worse this year than it was last year. No worse. If anything, it's better. It's better than it was last. Not saying it's miles ahead, but it's better than where they were last year. I trust this scheme, and I'm excited about Jones in 2023, Jay. And you know damn well we're not going to get off of this show without the ARich bomb heard around the world, baby. You know we're not going to do that because we saw that too, Jay Rich. We saw the bomb right here. ARich, Alec Pierce. I mean, the crowd goes wild. You can't hear it on the show, but the crowd in this indoor practice facility went nuts when they saw this bomb from Anthony Richardson doing the pro day throw against an actual cornerback. It's not in pads, doesn't count.
That's a dot too, man.
That's a dot, Jay. That's a dot. And again, everything that I'm hearing out of Indianapolis is, he's got some areas where he needs to improve. Yeah, he struggled sometimes, but more than not, he's been phenomenal. The energy. Did you hear Kwity Paye talk about Anthony Richardson post-practice yesterday?
No, I didn't. What'd he say?
It's a video, and Kwity Paye said it's demoralizing practicing against him. He said demoralizing. He's like, we're doing everything right, and when the X's and O's break down, he just can do things that he's never seen a player do. And what Kwity Paye said is, I'm glad he's on our team. He said it is demoralizing practicing against Anthony Richardson. So I'm excited, and if no Jonathan Taylor's going to be there, you got to pick it up, big dog. You got to pick it up. You were a top pick for a reason. And I think Anthony Richardson, who has bulked up to 255 pounds, apparently. Wow.
Dang.
Jay, the report is he's up to 255. It's like 14 more pounds than he was at the combine, and he's just ready to roll.
It's crazy.
I'm all in. I'm glad that you can't see what's below the desk. I'm all in, Jay. I am all in. All right, Jay. The best things that we saw, the absolute best thing that I saw on Twitter this weekend from NFL training camp, I think it's the best story. I'm most excited about this, and I'm just so happy for this player, man. John Mechie, back on the field, Jay. Recovered from his bout with cancer, missed his entire rookie season, and he's on the field practicing, and this is an absolutely disgusting route. nasty work. Y'all know the slogan, nasty work. I'm gonna get that on a shirt, nasty work. John Mechie back playing with the Texans, Jay. I don't care what he does this year production-wise. I'm just happy to see this young man get a chance to fulfill and live his dream, because I can't imagine how difficult that was to come back from. Best thing that I saw on Twitter this weekend, John Mechie on the practice field. Excited for that young man. And on an offense that doesn't really have a guy, I want a little Mechie. Give me a little Mechie, man. I like it. He was good. Second round pick. They're going. This isn't a feel-good story. This isn't Houston drafted them with a second-round pick just to have him there and feel good about it. He's going to play, and he's talented. He's a phenomenal receiver. How you feeling about Mechie?
I'm excited, man. You know, I was a big Mechie guy. People who don't remember from last year, I was a big Mechie guy. Really like his abilities in the slot. They do have a Robert Woods I think he can learn some things from, but with some more juice, right? Coming out of Alabama, he was kind of the forgotten man with a bunch of very talented receivers around him, but he stuck around, right? Like, we don't give enough credit to the guys who stick around, like a Brian Robinson, who literally never played for 3 straight years. Fourth year finally gets a chance. John Mechie's kind of the same, playing with Devontae Smith and, you know, all these other talented guys around him. And he still was able to produce, and his numbers weren't great, and that's why people knock him, but he was a second-round pick, and he is talented, and now, at least, he has a quarterback. Last year, he had Davis Mills, and now he's got C.J. Stroud, and while they haven't committed to Stroud yet, for some reason, he will be the quarterback over the long term. I think Mechie can do some good things with him in the slot.
Yeah, and Ike also reminded us that Houston traded up for Mechie as well. So I'm just happy to see that young man play. I'm excited for John Mechie, but the biggest hype, Jay, of training camp.
The story that will never go away.
There is a lot of hype right now. The biggest hype right now, and I think it's for real. We'll talk about it.
Oh,
I think it's for real. Justyn Ross. Justyn Ross out here turning heads. I mean, I don't give a damn if it's practice or a game. To make that catch with that tight of coverage, Mahomes is just ridiculous. It just shows how good he is. But the catch, Jay, let's talk Justyn Ross for a second, because we all understand how difficult it is for 3rd round, 4th round, 5th round, 6th round, 7th round wide receivers to make an impact in fantasy football, Jay. It's just a bet that you normally just do not want to take. It's a bet that's probably not going to work out well. So hard for those guys to get on the field. John Mechie hasn't played meaningful football in over 2.5 years. There was the injuries that he suffered. A lot of people didn't think he would play. Neck injury, spinal issues, missing time at Clemson. We have not seen him play in a long time, but now he's on the field. He's out there with Kansas City, and he's not only getting reps with the first team. When Kadarius Toney went out, the report was Andy Reid and OC said, 8, get in. You get in. You're running with the ones. I don't give a damn what any fantasy analyst says. I don't care, Jay. You can talk about historical hit rate all you want, this and that. The team and everybody that you follow around Kansas City said this is for real. He's going to get an opportunity, and he's going to play. How you feeling about Justyn Ross, man?
I'd say I feel optimistic about him. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm happy for the kid, right? We weren't even sure if he's even going to be able to play, make the NFL, period. Not to mention just actually getting on the field. But I think what people need to remember is that he got a 3-year deal with Kansas City. He's not just some guy who showed up last year, undrafted free agent. Like, they actually signed him to a deal, and he broke his foot last year. He didn't play. So it's not only he's just coming in and trying to earn a spot on the roster. Yes, he is still trying to do that, but at the same time, he's also been in the system, learning the playbook, in the building, with the trainers, with the staff. And when you're talking about undrafted guys sticking around, that to me is really what matters. And if you have a Justyn Ross, who, again, you talk about all these guys on the team, he's 6'4", 210. Like, he is completely different than every other archetype of player, whether it's Rashee Rice, who's only 6'1", Sky Moore, who's like 5'11", Richie James, who's like 5'10". Like, all these guys are smaller. They do have Justin Watson, who I'm curious how they feel about, because we have seen him get on the field a little bit to block and run some routes. But if Justyn Ross can be the outside threat and beat out almost MVS middle of the year, dude would be an absolute steal. So I'm not saying don't get Justyn Ross, but I think the problem is since the time at Clemson, there's been so much hype around this kid, you can't really get him for cheap. Like, Ray, I don't think we're paying 2nd-round picks to get Justyn Ross, but that might be what it takes, unfortunately, if you did want to buy him today.
anybody to buy I'm not saying all I'm talking about is football. I'm not talking about no buy sell.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm talking about is they are giving this young man an opportunity to play. And if I were going to bet on any NFL team to not give a damn about draft capital, play the best player, it's Andy Reid in Kansas City. From Isaiah Pacheco, Jerick McKinnon, look at the receivers that they've brought in. They are going to play the best player. I trust Andy Reid and that coaching staff to put the best player on the field. And everything that we've heard coming out of Kansas City is he's one of the best receivers that they have. Now, to be fair, every Kansas City wide receiver is getting pumped up. Sky Moore, Rashee Rice, Richie James, Travis Kelce, Noah Gray getting some pump, everybody. So you got to be able to parse through this. But if Justyn Ross is on the 53, if he's looking like one of those top receiving options, I'm happy and I'm interested because he's going to get a chance to play. I don't care. This whole draft capital concept and idea to a degree, I'm all in. I get it. I understand it. But once that's been proven to sort of be irrelevant, then I'm not hanging on to it. I don't care if he's a UDFA. We did the same shit with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Oh, he's a 4th-round pick. Yep. Not going to work. Not going to work. Now he's wide receiver 3 in Dynasty. If Ross is going to get an opportunity with Kansas City to get on the field and play, and you're not paying attention to that, you're not taking that into consideration when you press draft, you're not taking that into consideration when you're thinking about a trade, then you are doing it wrong. The team is telling you everything you need to know about the player. They're giving him every opportunity to get on the field and make an impact. And because of that, I'm in on Justyn Ross. We'll see how it plays out. Not saying I'm in. He's wide receiver 1. He's a top 10 guy. But am I in for him being an impactful player for Kansas City? I think at least one weekend, I'd say the answer to that question is yes. He's more real than fake fodder to me. I really believe that.
Yeah, and this is, again, the situation like the 49ers quarterback. It's a situation we chase, right? We want the receiver that's going to get the ball from Mahomes, and you have to, be ahead of the curve a little bit. And this is a spot where we've been hunting it forever because we know it's Kelce, but there's still targets behind that. And when it was Tyreek Hill, there was a lot of targets to that one player. So you still want to look at this situation. We know that Sky Moore will get his and probably will be the first crack at it, especially in the slot. But if Ross can carve out a role outside, he could be great for fantasy. Maybe not like you're saying, like even a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, but he will return a lot more value than you'd be getting for him today. And that's the big takeaway here and why you have to pay attention. And this goes for all situations. It's why you don't ignore bad passing situations or bad quarterback play, because there's always going to be opportunities for volume in any offense. You just have to figure out what the risk is in taking on that option. And in the case of Ross, we know the upside. I mean, if Mahomes can make anybody a wide receiver 1 at that point, and it's not going to get probably to that high, but there's definitely a lot of upside to a Justyn Ross in Kansas City, and especially a year 2 Justyn Ross in Kansas City, because I think the development will be there for Ross, and more importantly for him, the health going into his rookie season will be big for him as well.
Yeah, I think this is the year we've been chasing Kansas City wide receivers, it feels like, for years, especially when Tyreek Hill left last year. We're trying to figure out who's going to be the guy, who they're going to play next to Tyreek Hill. Can they get another receiver? It feels like this year most people are kind of out on the KC receiving core, which means they're going to be that we're finally going to get good ones out of KC. The year that everybody's kind of, I don't want any of those guys, fucking we get 2 of them that are like, oh man, they really got some good players. So again, happy to see Ross on the field, and I think there's more realness to this being a thing than it just being a good story. The kid can play. We knew he could play at Clemson. Had he not had the next injury, he would have been a 1st-round pick, probably a top 15 type receiver. And Kansas City is invested in this young man. He's getting the opportunity, so I am in on Justyn Ross at where he is right now at cost. Couple of other names I just want to bring up real quick to get your thoughts on, Jay. Odell Beckham Jr. getting a lot of buzz. Ravens camp. How you feeling about OBJ?
I guess cautiously optimistic. I mean, it's good for Lamar, right? That's the same. As long as LBJ is healthy,
have you
hopefully
seen any Odell Beckham stuff? Or are you just making this up on the fly?
No, I haven't. I
was going to say this
Twitter.
felt
Odell Beckham.
When you start off, that automatically
because again,
told me you've seen nothing.
But
from
you can
Odell
watch
Beckham
Odell Beckham. We know what Odell Beckham can do. He's got the best hands in football, probably of anybody. So we know what he can do, but he doesn't do it on the field, right? Think about all the years he was with Baker, and we thought Baker was the problem. It seemed like sometimes Odell was the problem. because he was good. He was okay on the Rams. He's pretty good on the Rams. Tears ACL. Now you want him. Are we really believing in Odell in what, year like 12? Coming off 2 ACL injuries? And he said it's going to be his last year this year.
Okay.
So are you buying into Odell off clips?
Jay,
is that a yes? You're buying into Odell off clips?
It's not. I mean, he's healthy. What are you talking about? He's healthy.
He's healthy today. He hasn't been healthy for like 3 years.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go to Tennessee. Let's talk about another team. Have you watched anything from Tennessee? Do you know anything about the Titans, or have you seen any?
No.
Okay.
No.
Let me tell the people out there. Right now in Tennessee, Treylon Burks and DeAndre Hopkins look good. Both these players look good. I tweeted it out. I think there's a sneaky chance that Treylon Burks is the best receiver in Tennessee. So my question to you, Jay, is have we underrated this Tennessee offense a little bit? Because both Burks and Hopkins are looking really good in practice, saying the chemistry is getting better with Ryan Tannehill. If Hopkins is Hopkins, and if Treylon Burks can take that step forward, you've got Derrick Henry in the backfield. Are we overlooking this situation a little bit, Jay? What do you think?
I don't think we're overlooking it a little bit. It's just we can't project the passing volume for this offense. And I think that's where when I dove into the Titans and what the offense could look like, if Hopkins is the one, Burks is probably still a competent 2. In terms of fantasy and ranking, he's be probably back end wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4, depending on touchdowns. But if you're talking about an equal target share, because again, Ray, it depends on the passing volume. If they pass the ball 550 times, it's much different if they pass the ball 500 times, right? So it's balancing how much they pass and how much they can get to, because if Hopkins is going to be Hopkins, that's a 26-30% target share, which is about 120 targets in their present offense. And Burks would see about 100 of those being the wide receiver 2 in the offense. And that's not enough targets to really be viable for fantasy. But if the tradition of these old aging wide receivers coming to Tennessee and sucking holds true again, then Treylon Burks will be a massive value, because he will be the guy who gets all the work, the downfield targets, the touchdowns that we expected from Burks coming into the year before Hopkins. It just depends on how they divvy up the targets and what the pass volume looks like. I think we could be underrating it a little bit, especially to your point about Burks. If he is the one, massively undervalued. But literally, since DeAndre Hopkins signed in Tennessee, his ADP has actually gone up on Underdog, which tells you a lot about how people feel about the situation, because in theory, it's not a great spot, but if the volume's there, it could be okay. It just depends on how much you pass. So you have to make the decision. Right. How much do you believe they pass this season? Because that's what's going to drive the volume. And then if you believe Burks is the one, he's a massive value.
Burks
and
or more.
Hopkins is overrated.
Burks or more, Jay Rich. Who would you take? Who has more yards?
You
Burks
have to take
DJ
more. You have to take more. You have to take more. He's the one on his offense unequivocally. And Burks, we hope he can be, but we don't expect it to be, at least right now. And this is something that the fantasy community actually does get right a lot. We don't necessarily get the rankings right, but usually we can nail the pecking order to some degree with some of these players.
Jay, I'm gonna just do, because I'm curious. I'm gonna just give you some numbers. Over under. That's all I want you to say. Over under.
Okay.
725.5 for Treylon Burks. Over under.
I have him for just over. I believe I have for 800.
Over, just say over under. Just do what I ask you for the. There's a reason. Over under 725 for Treylon Burks.
Over.
Over under 575 for Odell Beckham. 575.
Don't have to finish it. Under. Mark Andrews, Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, Nelson Aguilar.
Okay.
Odell Beckham Jr.
Over under 599.5 for Zay Flowers.
I would take the over there. First round receivers have been averaging like 700 yards a season for the past few years.
Last one. Over under 825.5 for DJ Moore.
That's so tough. DJ Moore's range of outcomes is so wide. I think if I was picking a side, I would pick the over, but I don't feel great about it. I think just the range of outcomes for DJ Moore is extremely wide. He could easily have 1,000 yards.
Interesting, man.
But
if
the books tell you how they feel, 800 with no action. It's 800. It's been sitting at 800 for weeks for DJ Moore. Zero movement. Zero. Or I think it's slightly moved when I looked at it like last night.
Jack, can I give you one more over under? Can I just give you one more?
Absolutely.
I'm just curious what you think.
Let's make a slip.
Can I give you one more? I'll give you one more. Who you want, Darren Waller or Calvin Ridley?
Calvin Ridley, because it's so easy.
925.5.
Over.
Over. You are all in on Calvin Ridley.
Calvin Ridley is so good. And like him going in an interview and saying, I just want respect on my name back. Like the dude is just like, I am still him. I'm still Calvin Ridley. I just want people to respect who I am and my ability.
Okay. And
again, Ray, Trevor Lawrence, I don't know what the exact number is, threw the ball like 630 times last year. And all you're asking him to do is get 1,000 yards. I mean, Cheese Curd Bandit did say that the O-line is a bit of an issue because they lost a piece that went to Kansas City, and then they also have a guy who's suspended. So some issues there. But Ridley, man, I know people still like Christian Kirk, but I'm not all in on the Clips. But I've been a Ridley guy for a long time. I have to take the over on Ridley. Have to.
Right.
Love Ridley.
Well, we ought to do a show just looking at these lines. I think there's some very exploitable lines over here on Prize Picks with some discrepancies between the books and what they're giving you. We ought to do this show sometime, Jay. But that's it. That is week 1, training camp, wake up show in the books. My girl Joe asked us last show, Jay, when do we go back to 3 days a week? We are doing that, I think in 2 weeks. 2 weeks, we get back to 3 days a week. 2 or 3 weeks. We're going back to 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday over here on Wake Up. Jay, we got over 500 people in the stream.
Smash
today.
the like.
Man, shout out to all the people, all the love over here on Wake Up. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button, comment below. Let us know what you thought about the show, the players, Daniel Jones, Justyn Herbert, all the guys, Jonathan Taylor in particular. For those of you who jumped in the show late, we discussed Jonathan Taylor probably about the 35-minute mark of the show, but I'll go back through, timestamp this bad boy. Make sure you check out Destination Devy Radio. Scott Connor with JJ, Mr. Airhorn. Mr. Airhorn himself, the late round fly, JJ Zacharyson, our good friend. Make sure you check out Destination Dynasty, Jay's show, Straight to the Bank, dropping this Tuesday. I did not drop Untitled last weekend because I was in Mississippi. But this week, Untitled, Jay, you had asked what the title of that show is. It's why I'm quitting all my Dynasty leagues, man. That is going to be the title of the episode on Saturday. Jay, I'm out. I'm deucing from just about all of my Dynasty leagues, and I will let everybody know why this Saturday. Still love it. Still going to have a good time, but that's going to be the show this Saturday. Remember, we talked about it at the top of the show, the Rookie Report coming back over here on the channel this week, where I will be tracking and following nothing but rookie talk all NFL season from preseason week 1, training camp week 1 through week 18 of the NFL season. So that will drop on the channel this week. Jay, Straight to the Bank, Overreaction, Off the Line, 4D Chess, Untitled. We got a lot of good stuff over here at Destination Devy. And don't forget about the free newsletter that Brandon runs. Link in the description. All gas newsletter, free 99. Sign up for that. Can't wait to announce some more great things that we have coming. Jay, anything you want to say to people before we get out of here? I got the super chats. I got them,
I was going to say, I
got them.
Everyone in the chat is super chat. But no, I don't got anything. Just do listen to Scott and JJ. Listen to it this morning. Phenomenal pod. JJ talked about some best ball strategy, and they talked about the Scott Fish Bowl, unique league scoring, and how they approach it. It's a lot of things that Scott preaches, but from a different angle, right? Because JJ does do a lot of redraft stuff. And I think as much as we love Dynasty, this is a year-to-year game. It's a year-to-year game, and if you approach it that way, you will be a lot better off in a lot of ways. And so I think hearing JJ's approach and how he approaches some of his redraft leagues, you can apply the same principles to Dynasty with a slightly different twist. So definitely turn into that. That dropped this morning. Phenomenal pod. Shout out to JJ and Scott. They both did a great job on that. And I believe Scott also mentioned on the pod he will be going live tonight doing a Pros vs. Joe FFPC draft, and he'll be live streaming that against JJ. So that's kind of part of the reason why they got together. They're doing that draft they're doing that draft together. And so I wanted to pub that as well. So lots of good things coming. But Ray, get to the super chats because we did miss those.
Well, it's only one, but it came earlier. It's the only one I saw. Oaktown's finest. What's good, fellas? So my fantasy draft is next month, and wanted to know if you guys do the tier system for players on Patreon. Yes, that's all we do on Patreon. It's tier. It's a whole different philosophy for how I rank players. I don't go 1 through 100. I think that's a disservice. I think you have to categorize them of what archetype of player, what you're getting. Are you getting a threshold receiver? Are you getting an elite light guy? Are you getting a dynamic difference maker? So we tier them. We rank inside the tiers. That's how I do them. I don't go 1 through 100. We'll never do that ever again, especially when it comes to running back. A much different system in which we rank players. But that is in Patreon. So you can go to patreon.com/allgas to get access to that. $7 a month, you get access to those ranks. So pretty cheap cost for all the shit that we give people for our service. But I think I got it. That was the only one. That was the only one I saw. If I missed one, let me know. But yeah, Jay, good show. Good show.
Yep. It was good, man. I mean, I'm hoping we have health this week, right? We had a lot of potential injuries. We'll see what happens with JT and the running backs. It seems like this is a never-ending soap opera. But I believe Hard Knocks starts this week or
this
next week.
Very
soon. So excited for that because everyone wants to know what's going on with the Jets. But a lot to still check out with training camp. So we'll see. Lots of things going on. They want the Prize Pick season-long bet show. We can do that.
Yes, we will do that.
That's pretty easy to put together. Yeah, we can do that. I can pull the book lines and pull the Prize Picks lines and go from there. We can do that show. That'll be lots of fun. Maybe I'll do that as a pod as well and talk about that. But lots of things on the way. 3 days a week. It's coming, people. Don't worry, it's coming. But we got to do a few more things on the back end before we get there. But lots of good things on the way. I'm very excited for everything coming in 23. It will be bigger and better than ever. And it is all because of you, the people, for it. And we just can't thank you enough, man. Can't thank you enough because that's makes the show what it is. It's you people being here every single morning.
We'll see y'all on Monday. Stay tapped in everything. Thumbs up, like, subscribe. Be great, y'all. Love y'all. We out. Peace. Before y'all close off of the video, I just want to say thank you for checking out the content on Destination Devy. Really appreciate every single view that we get. And the only thing that I ask is that you hit the thumbs up button, like the content, subscribe to the channel, and if you can, comment below for the algorithm. Really helps the channel grow. Now, if you want more exclusive access to me and the entire Destination Devy team, patreon.com/allgas gives you that access. Now, if your money's a little funny, we do have free content for you. Make sure you subscribe to the All Gas newsletter. There's a link in the description of this video below, and subscribe to the Destination Devy podcast radio feed, where we got all types of shows hitting the airwaves every single week. Now y'all can get out of here. I appreciate y'all tapping in. It's All Gas all the time. I love y'all. I'm out of this thing. Peace.